Naming molecular compounds. Okay, the first step in naming anything is identifying what kind of compound is this. So the molecular compounds that we're going to learn how to name are binary molecular compounds. Binary means two elements, and they're both nonmetals. So molecular compounds contain two or more nonmetals. Nonmetals is the operative word here. But we're going to learn how to name the binary ones. That means two elements. If you see a compound that has 3 or 4 nonmetals, it's not a binary molecular compound, and you can't use this system. By the way, this is a student's favorite system of naming things. Molecular compounds don't have ions, and they're named a little differently. So what we do is we use the name of the first element, and we put a prefix on it to tell us how many of them there are. And then the second element is following the same basic pattern of the ionic compounds, in which we change the ending of the name to "ide", but we're also going to use a prefix here. So that's the general form. Because they aren't ions, and we don't have the charges to tell us how many of each, we use prefixes. So these are numerical prefixes, and some of them are familiar, and some of them not so much. Mono means one. Okay, so mono is 1, di is 2, tri is 3. A triangle has 3 sides. Tetra might be new to you. Tetra is 4. Have you ever played Tetris? Did you ever notice that all the Tetris block-shapey things that are falling have 4 squares in them? Tetris, 4. Okay. Penta, like the pentagon, 5 sides. Hexa, hexagon has 6 sides. Hepta is kind of weird. Okay, I could tell you a story, but we're running out of time. Hepta, number 7. Octa is an octagon, like an octet, 8. Nona is 9, and deca is 10. A decade is 10 years. So you need to know those prefixes. So if there's only one atom of the first element, we usually do not use the prefix mono, because mono means 1, and chemists hate the number 1, right? So on the first element, we usually leave that off. So an example here is CO2. So if we're going to name this, we look at this and we look at the first element, it's carbon. Is carbon a metal? No. Not ionic. Using the new set of rules here. So we've got carbon, we've got oxygen, 2 nonmetals. So there is 1 carbon. The prefix for 1 is mono, but we don't use that on the first element. So we're just going to say carbon. There's 2 oxygens, so we take di as the prefix meaning 2. Ox comes from the element name oxygen. We change the ending to ide. And so the full name is carbon dioxide. This tells us 1 carbon, 2 oxygens. N2O, this is laughing gas. We look at the first element, nitrogen, not a metal. We have nitrogen and oxygen, 2 nonmetals. We can use the prefixes. Your students want to trot these prefixes out all the time. You can only use them with 2 nonmetals. Okay, so restrain yourselves. N2O, we can use the prefixes. There are 2 nitrogens. So this is dinitrogen. And there's 1 oxygen. We do frequently use mono for the second element. So this is dinitrogen monoxide. Now you might say, what happened to the other O? Well, we sometimes drop that vowel and sometimes not. And again, I'm not going to try to trick you on this. But am I wrong, or does this look weird? Monooxide, it looks like monoxide. You know, it's just weird. We don't do that. It looks weird. So frequently, when the prefix ends with a vowel and the element's base name starts with a vowel, we often, but not always, drop the last vowel of the prefix. So I'm not going to trick you with this on an exam, but you're going to see it, and you may wonder why. And it's just kind of because sometimes it looks weird. So we drop it in monoxide, but we don't drop it in triiodide, even though that does look a little weird. So I can't give you a real great way to remember. Just know that sometimes we drop it, sometimes we don't, and I won't trick you on an exam. Seems to me there should be more examples there. Oh well.